And then I just put this one. Renee.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I love how they put an exclamation mark on that in the captions. Hi. Let's see. Oh, can you see us, Renee? Or is this just
Okay.
blank?
Yeah, I can see the room.
Okay. I will fix the camera here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
My other ones were given back too. That's cool.
Let's see. Wow.
Yeah, I thought you were looking for your other glasses. You were walking around and then someone was like, you know who these are? Yes, I do.
You're generally confused.
Me too.
Just
I'm feeling all.
Yeah.
This is such a short poem.
what do you do?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
How was your day?
Ah,
Yeah. Your hair's growing.
I cut my hair
Wonderful.
because I wanted to.
Hair is fun.
I hate it so much.
Really?
Yeah. Shave the sides off.
It does look like it could be a bit exuberant. Yeah. Hair doesn't do anything. You just slap enough of anything on it to get it to stay down. That's about it.
Yeah, this was my attempt at not cutting off all of my hair, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
sometimes, yeah, I just want to shave it all.
Well, that's the thing, is I do that every couple of years and then I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah. I just burn it to the ground.
Right on.
Quick question,
Yes,
get started.
yeah,
Remember, we're being,
recorded.
yeah.
Okay.
I can cut it out though.
I sent you a Teams message about a volunteer or for PAAT.
Oh, yeah,
What was his name? I just need to know if he's active or not so that I can. Juan Vergara. So this one is a PAAT volunteer
no.
with a TMHA.
Hello, Jay Swan. We'll start here in a little bit. I'm gonna mute us for a little bit. Hello, everyone. We'll give it a few more minutes. Sometimes we have a little bit of stragglers that come in, not stragglers.
First play something that I find almost hilarious.
Mhm.
So I was running around looking for my shades the other day in this place and like I belong here. And I ran into Barry, right? And I was like, ooh, Barry, but that's the last thing that I heard about him. The last time I was here, like 10 years ago, there was a joke, everybody was doing the Barry thing. And anyways, I don't know if it pissed him off, but he was like, who are you?
Oh, he is.
He's cool. He grew up here.
He's been here for what, 29 years?
My old high school economics teacher used to work with Barry when
Really?
she worked here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't, huh? Yeah, I had reached out to my old econ teacher, trying to get a contact at Nicola High School for the art show.
Mhm.
And he was like, oh, that's interesting, you're working there now. I used to work with Barry back in, it was like the homeless housing program
Yep.
back in the
Mhm.
90s or something. It's like,
I think, yeah, Barry started off as a housing case
Oh
manager.
my God, it's supposed to be.
Yep.
we've been around, what's it, 40 years, now? More than 40 years.
Whoa.
2018 was 40 years. It's almost 50 years, Trista.
50 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we just had our 40, well, we not just had, but yeah. Gosh, time flies by so fast. How long have you been here, Claire?
Since 2018.
Oh, so you're coming up on year 10, like in 3.
We'll see.
Nothing very.
But I was just talking to Dexter yesterday and I was like, you were like 2 when I started
Yeah.
here.
I know Mary used to run around the halls in a ballerina tutu and tights. And now she's like gonna be a junior in high school. I'm like, oh man, I can't. She's driving me to places. All right. Well, we can get started. For those that are here up on the screen, we can't see it because the computer's funky, but it's just our upcoming PAT meetings that we are having. So our next PAT meeting will be with Central Coast Autism, and that is June 10th from 3 to 4:30. Same Zoom link, same Zoom time. Then we'll be having a PAT beginning of summer get together. That's in person here in San Luis Obispo County. We're just gonna have a potluck and have some fun. And then our last meeting of the fiscal year, or the last meeting of June before summer hits, is going to be with Cal Able, which I'm really excited about. Renee, who is one of our volunteers, she brought this to my attention. I think it's amazing. It is a savings account or investment accounts for those of that are eligible, have eligible disabilities, for people that receive SSI, which is always a big thing, is having people with SSI being able to save money since that cutoff with the $2,000. So this is great, and I hope that we can get a lot of people there just to learn about this so that people can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I can say
Okay.
something really quick.
Yes.
'Cause, I'm on SSI, and so I'm in this program with Cal Able. There's a lot to it that I don't know, and so that's why I'm really looking forward to this one, as well as slow autism, because they have so much going on, so that will be really fun. They have so much different activities going on, um. And let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh, yes. When I was talking to the people of Cal Able, they also I think this one would be just like a general uh, um, for everybody, just anybody and everybody to find out what the program is. They were also asked if we wanted to do something that was more staff oriented, like to help. They call it training the trainers. And so I said we could do something like that in another future meeting. So just wanted to let you know on that one.
Thank you, Renee. Yes, I'm excited about it as well. I don't know, I feel like this will be a great resource for a lot of our behavioral health navigators. All right. So then we'll just start here really quick with PAT and who we are. So on the screen, you should see our mission statement. PAT is a committee of peers that work to advocate for those served by the mental health system, educate our community about mental illness, promote wellness and recovery, reduce stigma, and provide support for those living with mental illness. Some of our goals include inspiring hope and wellness in the community by utilizing valid peer experience. And then encourage connection with the community, actively strive to reduce stigma through educational and experiential opportunities, and empower individuals to find their own paths. Oop, we went too far. Find their own paths to mental wellness and recovery. And as we talk about this topic, one of the big things you will hear a lot is that recovery is unique to an individual. No two paths are the same. It's a journey. And so, yeah. All right, let's take a moment to breathe before we kind of start our presentation. I'm a big fan of box breathing. So we have a little graphic here I'm going to play. For those of you that don't know what box breathing is, you're just going to breathe in for 4, hold. Actually, you're going to follow the little smiley circle guy right here. And you're going to breathe in and then hold and then breathe out and then hold. And we will continue that cycle for a few. Just to kind of center us, because I don't know about you, but the last few weeks have been funky and a lot of overwhelm. And I just need to take a moment to breathe sometimes because it's been a lot. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with that. So breathe in, hold, out, hold. Do it one more time. We're gonna breathe in. Breathe out. And then hold. So we have a few people here. We have about 3 people in the room, and then we have 2 on Zoom. We do have a individual who has graciously volunteered to share their experience about that moment when they needed, or when they realized that, hey, this isn't just sadness. And that is Marcus, and so he'll be sharing his story here in a little bit. Actually, Marcus, do you feel comfortable going right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here, want me to move the camera so that people can see you?
We don't have to do that.
Oh.
One
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
Am I referring to depression specifically, or is this bipolar?
Any
Oh, that works.
mental health concern that you have.
Fair enough. Don't forget to get my duck.
I will not. You duck, okay. All right, reframe it.
Hi, folks. My name is Marcus, and I am a white male that just turned 50 years old about 6 months ago. And I've been involved with 12-step recovery for about the past 10 years on and off, successfully the past 2 years. That means I have 2 years clean and sober. And I've been involved personally with mental illness, bipolar disorder specifically, for over 10 years. With the using and the disorder of bipolar, I'm not sure which came first, the chicken or the egg, but maybe one day I'll find out. Anyways, the point in time when I realized that I needed more help than I could get through myself or my family and friends. And this was back in around about 2011. The first thing that I noticed is that myself being bipolar, things become very extreme. When I start feeling symptoms, it doesn't matter if it's bipolar, I'm going into mania, or if I'm going into depression, either way, it's either extreme on the mania or it's extreme in the depression, which is why it's bipolar. Anyways, one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid was stay up all night with my friends. I could do this for days on end. Later on, they got into using substances to help them stay up longer. And I never was involved with any of that issue, but I stayed up with them regardless. And I considered it to be kind of a challenge. And it was almost kind of a bonding thing as far as being with friends and being part of the deal, considering I wasn't into what they were. Anyways, so sleep deprivation was a big thing. Back then I could control it. I'm a painter, and I believe I painted some of my best pieces while I was up for days on end, in mania. The sleep deprivation was, after a while, it became not a choice for me. certain things would trigger me to go without sleep. And unlike most people that reach a point where they just conk out and they're just tired. I reach a point where I can't figure out how to get to sleep. It's like there's a little switch that's the difference between being conscious and unconscious, and I lose the ability to turn that off. The most trying time that I experienced this, there was a lot of construction going on near my home, and it was 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I found out how sensitive I am to backup beepers on tractors and such. Anyways, I ended up leaving my house 2 weeks into the construction project because I did not sleep. And at that point in time, it was too late. This is when I realized that I really needed outside help. I had a friend who helped take care of me while I was away from home. And I had gone without sleep for so long that I had to actually itemize the activities that I was doing during the day so that I would be in less danger of hurting myself because I knew that my brain wasn't firing on all cylinders. In the end, my best friend had to call the police on me because I was out of control at his house and he had children there. When the police came, it was a bad scene and I was taken in and I thought I was the devil. I remember asking the people at mental health to look into my eyes because I thought I would, possess them. Anyways, it didn't work. And after that, they gave me a big shot. Anyways, that's what I got.
Yeah, no,
You know,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think that we can all, for those of us, I personally live with mental illness as well. I am a bipolar buddy. I have bipolar as well. Yeah, I think it is those moments where you kind of hit a wall and you're like, this isn't how I should be living my life, or this is out of the experience of many. And I need to get help. So thank you so much, Marcus, for just being transparent and sharing. We really appreciate it.
yeah, sure. How long was that? Any idea?
I would say probably about like 5 to 6 minutes. Yeah.
Good. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So then we're just gonna dive in here a little bit. So like, ooh,
So do you think you could like switch the screen? Maybe the PowerPoint is on the big screen. Zoom is on the small one.
well, because then, yeah, I probably can. Hold on.
It's a flippity flop.
The flippity floppers. I'm just not very tech savvy. I will say that very much. I am and I am not. Let me see. Oh my gosh, where is my mouse now? There we go. Comes over here. All right, there we go. So then we're going to, I'm gonna pull this over here. Boom.
Look at that.
And then we're gonna go here. Make it big. And we're gonna present. And present. Boom. All right. And then Renee, can you do me a favor and just confirm that you guys can still see the screens too?
Boom.
Yes, I can see the screen right now. It's Etsy. It says mental health symptom tracker.
All right, that's not the screen I wanted you to see. So I'm gonna stop share and share again. Hold on. Where did that go? Oh. One day.
You read everything. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I was like, oh no. Okay, hold on. So then we're gonna move you over here. So we're gonna go here. And I'm gonna share it. And I'm gonna share screen one. All right. How about now? There we go. I see it.
Yes, it says what is mental health, and then mental health versus mental illness.
All right. So really simple little graphic here, just to kind of explain the difference between mental health and mental illness. So mental health is a state of well-being in which a person realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, and can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Versus mental illness. So what is mental illness? Mental illness is defined as a health condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, behavior, or mood. Such conditions may affect someone's ability to relate and function each day, relate to others and function each day. So what does it look like? Here are just some symptoms. Now, this doesn't encompass the entire spectrum of what it is, but so indicators of good mental health, you have resiliency to stress, so you're able to bounce back. When stressful times happen, you're able to kind of take a deep breath and be like, kind of go, and then yeah, let it go. Empathy is often a good sign that you're in a good space mentally. You can empathize with others, feel the compassion. Flexibility, you're not so rigid. Spirituality, you're engaging in things that are meaningful for you. Optimism, you have stable relationships. Productive behavior, respect for self and others. Self-confidence is also something that can also be, for those of us that have bipolar, self-confidence, if we have too much of that, that might also be a warning sign that something is not clicking. A sense of belonging to your community, ability to take care of others and yourself, clear thinking, and a sense of well-being and commitment. Indicators of mental illness, on the flip side, are pulling away from people and usual activities. When we go through a lot of those screenings with like your primary care physician or your therapist or a psychiatrist, if that's part of your treatment plan, they will often always ask you, like, do you find pleasure in things that you enjoy doing? That's often a sign that maybe your mental health is taking a dive. Feeling numb or like nothing matters, feeling helpless or hopeless, experiencing severe mood swings, and then thinking of harming yourself or others. That is a large or a big indicator that your mental health is not doing well, or you might be sinking into mental illness. And then the inability to perform daily tasks. That's also another big indicator. The main question that we really want to ask ourselves, is it more than just being sad? Being sad and having like a little bit of depression, that ebbs and flows throughout our lives, as from children to adults to older adults. That's something that's just part of life, right? Losing a pet, a loved one, that can bring on sadness. There's been studies that like, hey, post Super Bowl depression, your team didn't win. That's ebbing and flowing with life. You lost a job, you didn't get the promotion that you wanted. These are all things that can bring about sadness in our lives, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody experiences sadness. Everybody experiences anxiety. But when do you know when it's just a little bit too much and you need to start looking for help? First question is it prolonged? Is that feeling lasting for 2 weeks or longer? You should consider seeking out some professional help. Is it interfering with my life? Hey, we talked about, Marcus gave a great example of like, it's really affecting sleep. That is a big indicator of bipolar, is that you feel like he hit the nail on the head. Is when oftentimes when I talk to my treatment team, I express it in the sense of, yeah, there's like a switch went off in my mind and I can't turn it off. And my brain is just on and bright. Loss of appetite or changes in appetite. Are you eating much more or are you eating much less? Loss of interest or pleasure. So, I used to really love hiking and now, I just rather I think Gen Z calls it bed rot, where I just lay in bed. I used to really enjoy, painting, but now I don't really want to do that anymore. These are all things to kind of keep track of. Low energy, fatigue, difficulty concentrating. And then kind of exploring what you're thinking. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, a big indicator also is guilt or worthlessness. Your self-worth kind of takes a dive. You often, you have thoughts about like, I'm a failure, or I'm an embarrassment to my family, or I've let people down. And some, once again, those thoughts, those are part of the new, like the regular human experience. But when they become all encompassing, when you can't move past them, when you are constantly bogged down by them, that may be an indicator that maybe you should talk to somebody. Obviously, we've talked about it, but having thoughts of death or suicide, that is a red flag that's popping up right there. And I personally have suicidal ideation as a part of my chart. So like I talk to my treatment team a lot about when I'm feeling this. And so for me, like, yes, suicide will, well, in the past, I've gotten a little past that now because I've been in treatment for so many years, but in the past, that was like a forethought. Whenever something went wrong, my mind would automatically kind of conjure up, oh, you're better off dead. And I would have to really kind of be like, okay, that's your first response out of years of kind of just building that go-to. But moving on, so some people, like when you talk to them, we oftentimes have people come up and start talking to us, and they'll talk about suicide, but they won't have a plan, they won't have this, it just pops in their head, but then they're able to kind of like, no, that's not the answer. Here it's that, like, that kind of just ruminating on it, like, yeah, I would be better off dead. Nobody really appreciates me, having those ruminations on suicide, looking at it as like, you would feel so much better if you weren't here. These are things to kind of, those red flags that if you're experiencing, to mark down, to write down. We'll talk about journaling here a little bit later, but marking down what you're feeling, the thoughts that you're thinking, is really important for when you do go to your primary care physician or you do go to a therapist, to have there a journal, a track sheet, written down symptoms that you've been experiencing for how long. Those are all important tools to get a proper diagnosis, to kind of get the help that's really tailored to your needs. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll give you some examples. I even have some free sheets that we can drop in the chat for you to start that tracking journey on your own. And then also just, irritable. If you're more irritable than normal, and it's outside of like normal parameters in the sense of like, yeah, are you irritable because it's hot outside and it's humid and you're sticky? That's okay. That's understandable. But are you just irritable because you're overwhelmed or you're feeling like you have no space? And that's something also to be aware of. Feeling. So we talk a lot about now, and our world is really bridging the two of physical health and mental health, but your mental health does affect your physical health and your physical health does affect your mental health. And so really keeping track of what you're feeling. So headaches, are you tired? Stomach aches, joint pains, phantom pains. These can all be symptoms of mental health. For me, I know anxiety. When I experience severe anxiety, my stomach is a mess and I can't eat because it's just gurgling and it's horrible. Another thing, and I think Renee also maybe can testify to this, but headaches are something that pops up too when I'm not doing well mentally. Usually it's migraines. I get a lot of migraines or just focused tension headaches when I am not doing well mentally. And so just keeping track of all that.
Yeah, for me, really quick, I
Yeah.
have chronic migraine, and sometimes that is stress related, and that can be depressive. Also a lot of like neck and back pain. I'll tense up. That's where I keep a lot of my stress, is my upper back. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And knowing those places like where you hold stress. I
Mhm.
think very similar. I hold stress like in my shoulders and my back. I don't know, Marcus, where do you hold stress?
Shoulders, yeah.
Shoulders?
Yeah, definitely the shoulders.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll notice with anxiety, like I'll just feel very jittery. Just that
Mhm.
kind of panic on edge, like something's gonna happen and my body will just feel jittery. Sometimes my fingers will lightly be shaking.
Yeah,
I get tremors.
yeah. So it can manifest in a bunch of different ways. And that's why so much that tracking, you'll see that big sentence there at the bottom of the slide, but tracking these things will help you have the conversation that you need when you are working with a professional. And then should I talk to someone? If you're experiencing any of these symptoms and they have not gone away or remain after 2 weeks, it may be time to consult a professional. All right, so we'll kind of get into tracking options. Personally, I think that tracking your mental health is a really big help for you and also for your providers. Not only to start conversations about, mental health referrals, but to really see how treatment is doing, as far as like helping you, or is it making it worse? And so obviously what every therapist recommends is journaling. Journaling is great. Calendars, I have, when I first started tracking, I would just write down on my phone, not write down, but type out in my phone on, like, if I was having a really, really bad day, I would find the date and then I would just make a note and I would color coordinate it so that when I would go to my treatment team, I'd be like, yeah, about 7 days this month I was having suicidal ideation, and about 8 days this month I was experiencing severe anxiety and I couldn't really cope. So tracking the details we went over will help you get started on the right path. Mental health is a personal journey and no two paths are identical. It is important to communicate what you are experiencing to get the help that you need. All right.
We have a question really quick.
Yeah. Do we have questions? Sorry.
Yeah, I see somebody has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
First, I have a couple questions. Is this peer advisory and advocacy a group from San Luis Obispo County Behavioral Health
Yes.
Services? So it's embedded within Behavioral Health Services of San Luis Obispo.
We're not embedded. We are like, we get Prop 63 money
Okay.
to put this on, but we're a separate group of peers. Yeah.
Okay, you're not San Luis Obispo like employees? You're not
No,
counterpart. Okay.
no, we're not. We work in a
Oh,
nonprofit that we do peer work at
you're
a local nonprofit.
you're like a community-based organization
Yes, a
within a
CBO.
network. Okay,
Yes.
cool. That's really cool. I'm from Contra Costa County.
Oh, nice.
Um, and I heard of this through PeerServe. And Renee sent me an email, so I decided. So I've never been to this meeting. I don't know what the format is. Whether you can just ask a question or you wait until there's time to ask questions or
We're pretty,
comments.
yeah, we're pretty flex. There is time to ask questions at the end, but if you're like, I would need some clarification, yeah, definitely raise your hand. I'm just on the presenting screen, so I can't see when people raise their hand. So that's why Renee will point it out to me and be like, hey, there's somebody that has
Oh,
a question.
okay. Well, first I want to say, Marcus, thank you for that great story. I found it quite relevant because I've had sleep dysregulation, and find a correlation between sleep dysregulation and mood dysregulation. Lately, I've been kind of exploring an idea of my own called I'm I'm going to coin it today, like behavior dysregulation, in kind of like a cognitive CBT kind of thing, thoughts, behaviors, and emotions,
Mhm,
where I think I might overreact to some things, um,
mhm,
and maybe I thought it was not part of my mental wellness or my mental health, but I'm thinking might be, and if anyone has ever, the phrase I hit um hit treat a molehill like a mountain, um
yeah,
like take something like really insignificant and blow it out of proportion.
yeah.
Um I've been tracking whether or not I do that, um and to what extent I do that. And I think I get I get there are sometimes I think I might it, and it's like a degree of paranoia, but it's more like an overreaction than it is
Mhm,
paranoia. I tried to explain it to my therapist, but and just putting that up as tracking something that um I'm connecting it to my sleep dysregulation to my mood dysregulation, and then to my behavioral dysregulation. But also, I was just really relating to Marx's story. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Yeah, definitely. I think,
Paranoia goes right along with sleep deprivation.
yeah, it does. And then that statement you said of like the paranoia, but it's really just overreaction. I think they feed each other. Oftentimes in my experience as with like mental health, that paranoia will feed into the overreaction. And then I will just continue to like overreact and overreact. Like when I was untreated, I had an episode where the safety of people was really concerning to me. I thought that, people were just not safe. And so much so that I ended up like pulling my daughter out of school because I was like, I don't want you to be at school because I was paranoid about school shootings and just like those types of things. And then that was an overreaction. I overreacted. I pulled her from school. And then that was kind of one of those key factors where I was like, I need to talk to somebody because this isn't a normal response or like isn't like a standard response. I'm overshooting because of that paranoia. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I really related to that.
Yes.
I'm gonna make it work again. Okay, so like we were just talking about journaling ideas, there are several really good sources out there to set yourself up to track your symptoms. One of them is Pinterest, and so you can just head over to Pinterest. My partner really loves Pinterest, and so I'm very familiar with it. But here, typing in free mental health symptom trackers, you can get a lot of good ones or just ideas to kind of, get a paper journal yourself and start writing some stuff down. Oftentimes it will lead you into our next kind of area, which is Etsy. So Etsy has a lot of great, boom, here we go. Etsy has a lot of great like paid for mental trackers where, they're $1, you can find these for free too on the internet, but sometimes they have like, computer programs that people have built out to help you track your symptoms and your wellness. The reason why I like trackers is because it gives me a picture of what is going on that is I can look at as a glance. And then one last here, another great thing, especially if you're creative and you like to kind of make your own templates and your own things, you can go make a free account on Canva. And on that free account, you can type in mental health symptom tracker. Ooh, that's not how you spell symptom. Oh, all right, there we go. All right, and in there, you can find a lot of great already created templates from people who are, just made them for you and then upload them there so that you can just pull them and use them for yourself. So those are some great, Google is a really great research tool when you're looking for tools to find, but Pinterest, there's a lot of good ones there. Etsy, you're looking to pay for them, but then Canva, you can kind of create your own and kind of work from there. I like this quote right here where it says, writing helps us not only see the words we are already using, but then change the words we're using so that we can in turn change our lives. Oops, yeah. So here's an example of a free one that I can drop in the chat here. When you get this, it'll just be a fillable PDF form, so you can type in your own. But here in the first one is, here you track trends. So days you stayed in bed for, irritable, not able to function, thoughts of self-harm. And then here you can track symptoms and habits. So like how many times you've had a headache. This goes for 14 days. How many times you had pain. How many times you slept for 8 hours or more. I think that that's also important to keep track of. As many of you know, your sleep and your mental health really correlate with each other. So keeping track of how much you're sleeping is really important because oftentimes, if you're not sleeping enough, that really does affect your mental health, like Marcus, shared so in his story. And then here's a space right here, just to help you track a specific symptom. So like if you're like, ooh, you know, my anxiety, if I'm just tracking my anxiety, and here with these little bars right here, you can actually track the intensity of it. So there's 8 bars. So like if you're feeling a full 8 bars of anxiety, you color in all 8. But if you're like, only like half, then you color in 4. Once again, just a good visual picture to kind of track 14 days or 28 days, how many every days you want, to really give you a guide, like just a picture at a glance of like what you're really experiencing. And then finding something positive, I think is very important. We always talk about gratitude, and we always talk about, you know, having that positive thing. I put my dog, Crosby, and then, you know, filling in the hearts for every day that I get to spend a little bit of time with him. Dogs are great. They're always happy to see you, which is amazing. So that's the little example of one. We have another example here of emotional symptoms. And so here it's 18 days. They color coordinated it. So, you know, severe is pink, moderate is blue, minor is orange, and then none is purple. And then just some common symptoms that they feel. And then tracking like, hey, yeah, okay, sad, 2 days I had it moderate, hopeless, a little bit, and then none. Irritable. I had some severe irritability the first, and then the second I was moderate. You know, isolation. And then once you've colored that in, you have just that, once again, that at a glance of like, okay, this is my mental health at a glance for 18 days. What's going on? Are there trends? Are there, things that are falling into place? Like I didn't sleep for the first 7 days, and I was noticing that my irritability was severe. But then, on the 8th day, I got a really good nap in and 8 full hours of sleep. And then I noticed that my irritability kind of dropped back down to that minor or none. Once again, we are busy people, and there's so much that's competing for your attention. And so you're not going to remember like dates and times of when you felt irritable, or dates and times of when you were anxious or when you were crying, unless you track it and you write it down. So it's so important that we do that to kind of keep it at the forefront. Do you have anything?
Out of curiosity, do you find it easy to track yourself on a consistent basis?
It is, that's another thing, right? With mental health, sometimes we have a hard time tracking. I think that for me, at least in my tracking journey, it was really hard in the beginning. But what I would really make myself do is I would isolate 2 like really scary symptoms for me. So one was suicidal ideation. Like I really wanted to track that. And then the other one was like the anxiousness, because I was experiencing a lot of anxiety when I first kind of was like, what's happening? So I would just really push myself to check in at least once a day. And that's why it started on my phone, because your phone, I always have my phone, right? Like my phone is here. It's the longest leash in the world. And so I would start with my calendar, and I would just make a note like, hey, today I would do a scale, like 5 out of 10 anxiousness, and I had 2 thoughts of suicidal ideation.
That's a good idea.
And then I just charted that in my calendar. So then when I went to, when I was first starting off with my treatment team, then I would go, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, on the 1st to the 5th and the 7th, I had these thoughts about, 2 times or 3 times a day. And my anxiety every day, it was about a 7, for me, it doesn't fit everybody, but medication is a part of my treatment. And so with medication, it is also very important to track, because sometimes things don't work out, right? Sometimes you take a certain medication and that's not the one, that's not our guy, and then so you got to track those symptoms to be like, when you go back to your psychiatrist, be like, yeah, I started taking Wellbutrin and my anxiety just slowly increased. And then, hey, okay, having a conversation with that provider and being like, maybe could we try something else? And like, yeah, sure, let's try Lexapro. Okay, great. So now, I'm taking Lexapro. This isn't an ad for Lexapro, but, hey, and then notice, hey, my anxiety has come down. I was at a 7, now I'm at a 4. And, giving time, they often tell you if medication is a part of your journey, they often tell you to wait at least a month, to kind of let the meds settle in. And so to track for that as much as you possibly can for that month, you're not going to be perfect. There are going to be days where you start at 7 o'clock and you're a busy person and you're going to go all the way to 9 o'clock and then you're going to drop in bed and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I didn't track it. That's fine. But if you can get as many days as possible in that month to kind of help you paint a picture of how this is really, affecting your life.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a beautiful illustration.
Yeah. Let's see, but that's just another example. We talked about using calendars, so I started off with my phone, just plugging in notes on my calendar app. I know people who use color-coded Post-its. They have a calendar at home and they have these little Post-its that they'll just stick a Post-it on that calendar, and it's like orange for really bad day, blue for a good day, and then purple for just an day, and they'll just color code all of their little squares in their calendar, and that works for them. Personal planners. I have a to-do list. I don't have a planner, but it's just a to-do list, and in my to-do list, they actually have a space for like what you're grateful for, and then a little space like to write how you feel into that day. It also tracks my water intake, which is also very important. We all need to stay hydrated, but just finding tools that work for you, I think, is important, because once again, no one shoe, fit is not one shoe is gonna fit everybody, right? It's not, we're in a Cinderella slipper type of situation here, where you got to find what fits you perfectly. And so like my to-do list, my phone, these are two things that I use frequently throughout the day. And so tracking on that is already just kind of so in between completing something on my to-do list, I can make a note like, I'm feeling really anxious today, so that's a 7 out of 10, and then we'll talk about it later, but preparing for appointments and kind of gathering all that information so it's at your fingertips when you have your appointments with your providers is also very important.
Food intake's critical to my
Yes.
mind. Generally when things are going awry are the times that I don't eat enough, and then I find myself losing my mind and realizing it's because I need a piece of toast.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, eating is so important to it as well. And eating good things. Hey, chocolate has been known. Also, carbs is really great in fighting depression, but making sure you have a well-balanced diet, eat an apple, eat a banana, eat some fruits and vegetables. Those are important as well.
Yeah, I've noticed if I'm anxious or just not feeling good, I'll forget to eat. For me, what I found best that helps me is protein after a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Just carbs help a little bit, but I'll still feel jittery and weak.
I think that's a great point, is that protein. And then preparing, right? And just throwing, like, if you have a backpack that you take to work with you or to school with you or around town with you, throwing in a snack so that when you feel jittery or you start to feel it, you can pull that granola bar, that protein bar out and just take a bite and eat, right? I mean, the Snickers commercial rings true for many of us. You're not you when you're hungry, okay? So that's a real thing. So make sure we're eating. There's an app for that. For those of you that are more tech savvy, there are tons of apps out there to help you just gamify or make it kind of cool to track your mood tracker. Here are 4 here. These do all have free modes. But then they also have some paid extra options as well. I use Human Health. I have used it a little bit. I like it. It works for me. Mood Fit, I've heard a lot of people like that. Bearable, man, their logo is just adorable. But that's another one. And then eMoods. And that's fine. Some people are much better. Like I said, we have our phone basically almost 24/7. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But there are some really great apps out there that can really. Yeah.
I used to use Dailyo.
Oh yeah, do you like that one? I saw that.
Yeah,
Dailyo.
'cause you could at the calendar, it kind of color codes the calendar
Nice.
for you. Like when you select your moods and it's also a great place to like journal.
Yeah. I saw there's some journal features in some of them too. So Dalio, comes recommended by Clara. And so, yeah, I think apps are cool. I think if this is your jam, if like you're like a tech savvy person, definitely for me, there is something about like writing stuff down and like feeling the pen on the paper. But definitely check out some of these apps. They are really great. And then also they can compile like a really short form of how you're doing. So that when you do have those appointments with your treatment team, you're able to kind of just pull that out as a glance and show them. All right. Online questionnaires, that's another way. Some people are more like, I need to answer questions, or like they need more hardline data. So there are some really good online questionnaires. There's one through Mental Health America, there's one through Psychology Today, Beyond Blue, MindWise, and many more. If you do a quick Google search, you can find some. I would just be weary, because some of them can go sideways. Obviously, that's why we kind of listed out some of them for the ones that we find good. There are professional ones too, so you'll see like a code in the beginning. So what is it, like GH, and then there's the 6M. And so like when I visit my psychiatrist, I have to fill out about 4 different questionnaires before I see them for their appointment. A lot of them are those official kind of questionnaires of like, how many times in the past 2 weeks have you felt X, Y, and Z? And then you score it, and then you get a score to show them kind of like your fluctuation of mood and stuff like that. But I say tapping into the resources online are great. For me, questionnaires can get kind of just kind of long. And so I really do like the tracking method more, because I can be a little bit more specific with my feelings, a little bit more like what's happening with me as opposed to like a form question. But those also are available, and I know that people find them very, very helpful, because sometimes people just want like an official document to be like, yes, I am experiencing something that I need to seek a professional help for, instead of like, well, I'm just writing this down. I do find that some people find comfort in that there's a score.
It makes sense too, considering that I believe the average visit to a psychiatrist lasts about 10 to 15 minutes if you're lucky. So
Yeah.
having your ducks in order when you go in.
Yeah.
I see that as being really helpful.
Oops. All right. And so the trouble with WebMD. All right. So, my sentence here kind of says it all. It's crucial to remember that even though online resources may help give insight, self-diagnosis can be unreliable and potentially dangerous. It's important to consult with a medical professional for proper diagnosis and a treatment plan. And so here are some of the different people that you can consult with. I think it's always a good starting point to start with your PCP or your primary care physician. Why? Because oftentimes you have insurance, or you have these niches that primary care physicians are already going to know. And oftentimes they can give you a referral in network of your insurance to a treating prescriber that's in your area. Also, like, they can run some blood tests. They can do a lot of the prep work that comes with seeing a psychiatrist or even a therapist sometimes, to kind of help narrow things down. Oftentimes they will start off with some of those questionnaires. They'll have a conversation with you. And then some providers, depending on how they feel, might even talk to you about some specific treatment options that they can offer you. Others might just be like, hey, I think would you be interested in a referral to psychiatry or a therapist? And I think it's just important to start there oftentimes, because if you have an HMO or a PPO, sometimes people don't know what they have. But if you have an HMO, it's a referral-based system. And so you need to go through your primary care through everything. So I think it's a good place to start. Getting into therapy and meeting with someone on a consistent basis can help you kind of narrow down your treatment plan to fit your specific needs. But also, like, therapy is a great place just to be heard. It's somebody that is there, that's scheduled to listen to you and reflect back what they're hearing, kind of be that mirror for you. And I think it's a great relationship to have. I've known a lot of people, myself included, that have benefited from therapy. And so I always like to throw it on the table as an option. because it's like 45 minutes of just uninterrupted you time, where you get to focus on you and focus on what you're feeling and how, and then you have a person there that's a trained professional to kind of help you work through those things. Now, finding a therapist can be tough, especially in person nowadays with the whole COVID thing and Zoom. A lot of people have online sessions, but there are a couple good websites out there to really find a therapist. If you have a PPO and you know, like, hey, it's basically, I can just choose anybody I want. Psychology Today and ZocDoc are two really good kind of online search engines that you can look at to see kind of providers that are in your network and also available to take on clients. So therapy is great. Psychiatry, we talked about this before, but this isn't a part of everybody's journey. Some people, this isn't, that's not what they're looking for. They can do well with just primary care or therapy. But some people need a little extra. Myself, I need a little bit extra. And so it can be helpful. And so finding a med prescriber to help you manage symptoms might be something that you can really support your mental wellness. Oftentimes that referral is going to come from your PCP. You can meet with a psychiatrist. They often, at least in our area in San Luis, I'm not sure about Contra Costa. Maybe you can enlighten us, but here in San Luis, it is oftentimes hard to find a psychiatrist without a referral. They are really impacted in our area. And so oftentimes kind of thinking outside the box, looking for online options. There's several online options out there to kind of get seen and to start developing a treatment plan. Right. The trouble with it, just don't fall into the self-diagnosing WebMD hole where you're like, I have this. I think that's the biggest thing. If we were to go back to that slide, is just that oftentimes I do it all the time where with physical ailments, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have gastritis, or I have, I was on a kick the other night where I was like, I might have like a failing liver. No, you just need to drink water and stop drinking soda. But we can fall down those rabbit holes really quickly because a lot of symptoms mirror each other, or a lot of diagnoses have symptoms that mirror each other. And so that's why it's so important to seek out a professional to really kind of help you narrow that down. And they can run blood tests and they can run questionnaires and they can compile all this data to really get you a tailored diagnosis so that you can start to treat that and kind of cut it off at the head. All right. We good on questions? So then advocating for a referral. We talked about it a lot, but preparing is so important when you're meeting with your primary care physician or a therapist for the first time, or a psychiatrist for the first time, or the 50th time. Just preparing. Write down your questions and concerns so you don't forget. I don't know if you guys have like white lab coat syndrome, but I do. Sometimes when I have like all this in my head, like I'm going to ask about this and I'm going to ask about that. And then when I go into my doctor, it's like like you said, Marcus, like 15 to 20-minute conversation. And I'm just like, and I'm furiously writing down what they're saying, but I don't get to answer my question. I don't get to ask my questions because I didn't write them down or I forget. And I'm like, I don't know. So making sure that you write down your questions, your concerns, your thoughts, and having it in front of you is so important. And then don't forget, let's see, so you don't forget anything, make a packet or a pile of your trackers of your journal entries or of paperwork. Like if you went to the PUF, like, hey, put that discharge paperwork in that packet and be like, hey, I was here. This is also something that happened. Everything that you can do to paint a better picture, because it often is just a 20-minute, 30-minute, if you're lucky, conversation with a doctor. And so the more data, the more things that you can show them, the faster you kind of just are able to kind of get into that conversation, and the more that they're more likely to take you serious. Unfortunately, that was part of my journey when I first started talking. I started with my PCP. And when I first started talking to a PCP, she kind of wrote me off. She's like, oh, you're young. It's just whatever. It's fine. And we kind of played that dance for about about 2 months, and then I was kind of over it. So then I switched up my PCP. And then when I went to my new PCP and I just let her know, I was like, I'm kind of experiencing this. She was like, okay, I'm gonna pull up this questionnaire and I'm gonna give you some time by yourself to answer it. And then we'll go over what you've kind of answered, and we'll see what we need to do. So I answered that questionnaire, and then she came in, she's like, I think we're gonna put in a referral for a psychiatrist and a therapist. Is that okay with you? Like, here are some of your options, here are some of the providers, which ones look more comfortable for you. These are the ones that we use more than others. And I really appreciated that because she took me seriously. But sometimes I get it. Sometimes doctors don't take you seriously. So the more data, the more paperwork that you have, the more instances and proof, sometimes the more they'll listen, unfortunately. Be open and honest, try to clearly communicate your concerns, share the symptoms you have been tracking, and bring a support person if needed. I think having an honest conversation can be hard. It's really hard for anybody. I just speak to this because this is the thing, but like for
Right.
suicidal ideation, it's really hard to share that with a professional. One, I don't want to get 5150. I don't, because that's oftentimes where they'll go, is like, the people will balk. Two, people who struggle with suicidal ideation oftentimes don't want to stress out other people. And so what we will do is, like, the minute we see somebody balk, we'll naturally shy back and be like, no, it's okay. I'm kidding. We're all good. Don't worry. Are you doing okay? That's one of the reasons why when we train professionals here at TMHA to work with individuals with suicidal ideation, the main things we tell them is to be ready to hear that answer. We are asking people if they are considering suicide. You need to be ready to hear the answer yes, and be able to kind of, all right, well, thank you for sharing that with me, and let's see what we can work through to help get you some help. Because it's a lot to hear when somebody says yes to that question. I totally get it. But having that open and honest communication is going to help you get the treatment you need faster. Provide background, so bring your symptom trackers. Known family history is a big thing too. So if you know, like, hey, yeah, my mom had bipolar as well, and my dad had severe depression, all of that information can really help your doctor kind of narrow it in. There is a hereditary component to mental health. And so having that background knowledge is really helpful. Get engaged, ask questions and about your concerns, about treatment options, and the referral process. I say specifically ask questions about the referral process. Ask, what does this look like? How long will this take? When should I expect to hear back? If I don't hear back, what should I do? These are all really good questions to ask, because sometimes these people that are working in these fields, they're only human too, right? So sometimes a referral doesn't go through, sometimes the computer glitches and it doesn't get sent off and you're waiting 2-3 weeks. Don't be afraid to call back and be like, hey, I know I had a referral put in, I haven't heard, what are my next steps? Be your best advocate, because sometimes, mistakes like that happen. The medical field is a busy and often overrun department in our public works or our community. So make sure that you're advocating for yourself. Make sure that you're getting heard. And if you haven't had any follow, just call back and be like, hey, I really need this. This is important. Yes. All right. And then I kind of want to land on this one right here. Bring a support person. It's a hard thing to kind of start this journey, to realize that, hey, yeah, I may need some mental health help. And so to have that trusted person or a friend, a family member, to kind of go with you, it's a lot. It does. It takes a lot to talk about it. It takes a lot to be open and honest about it. And so having somebody to sit there with you and go through that process is a really great support. If you do have this other option in your community, take advantage of it as well. Here in San Luis County, we do have peer specialists that can attend an appointment with you to provide that support and help you through those intake processes and through those questionnaires. So look in your county to see if you do have somebody like that as well, if you don't have friends or family members that can do that. All right, I'm losing my voice. All right, so finding a professional, like we talked about, the PCP route is really great because they're gonna give you that referral and you're gonna go. But what happens if you have a PPO and you're like, I need help now and I'm gonna start looking by myself? We talked about it before. Psychology Today has a really great search where you can actually mark out like if you want a female therapist or a male therapist, if you want a therapist that specializes in CBT, if you want a therapist that specializes in sexual assault trauma, if you want to, you have all these markers that you can kind of click to really narrow down the search to find somebody that kind of fits your needs the most. You can do it by insurance, you can do it by gender, so many different choices that you have. ZocDoc is also a really good one, and oftentimes they lead into actually scheduling the appointment through their platform, can be really nice. Because then you don't have to call. With Psychology Today, they'll give you a list of numbers and you independently have to call each and every therapist. And that can be kind of tiresome, totally, I get it. The ZocDoc kind of has that already built into their platform. And then also, if you have insurance, exploring your provider directory through your insurance online portal, definitely something to kind of look at, because then you can kind of see, and oftentimes they have the most accurate information of who is accepting new patients and who is not. So don't get discouraged. It takes time to find the right fit. So if you have, we'll talk a little bit about this. If you get a therapist and you're like, ooh, it's not meshing. Hey, we have been there. I've been there. I'm sure you guys have been there. And it's okay to be like, I don't think this is a really good fit. And it's okay to have that meeting and be like, I don't think it's a good fit. Is there somebody else that you can recommend within my network? And having that conversation with a therapist. They're not gonna, hopefully they will not take it personal. They're here just to provide that. And obviously, if it's not a good fit, if it's not working for you, you are the most important part of this equation. So make sure that you are getting the treatment and help that you need. And that's okay to say. It's like, hey, I think I need to explore another option. Do you have any recommendations? And see if they do. Oftentimes therapists, at least in our area, in our community, oftentimes all the therapists know each other and they know who are accepting new patients and who are not accepting new patients. And so that can really kind of cut your search time down if you talk to them and ask for, do you know anybody accepting new patients that I can give a call? All right. And then having that successful first appointment with a therapist or a psychiatrist. Once again, prepare. I cannot tell you how many times I have coached people of just preparing, write things down, have your questions and your concerns, have what you've been feeling lately, all ready to go. Like we've been stressing throughout this is that your appointment times are short. And so having that information from the get-go can really lead to some very collaborative and just very positive conversations. Be open and honest, speak your truth, share your concerns fully. This is your time to shine, my friend. You are the most important part of this equation. You're the one that's getting help. So share that. And then just another kind of word on that is take up that space. This is about you. Take up that space and get your needs met. It is okay to be a little bit selfish in these moments because it is about you. Oftentimes I will work with people and they're like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to ruin my therapist's day. That's what they're there for. Okay. Therapists have therapists. All right. And they're there to support you. It's your time. Take up that space. Talk about what you need to talk about. Get it out. Because if you're not going to do it there, then where are you going to do it? It's important for you to realize that you're worth the help and that these individuals are here on your treatment team to help you. All right. So is there any questions?
I agree, advocacy is super important. I've been getting therapy for the past probably 20 years. And I've had one therapist where I can be completely honest with them and I can share just about anything. And I can have another therapist walk in the next door, the next room over, and they're going to be thinking about reporting me to the boss or whatever. Another thing I think is worth mentioning about suicidal ideation. I've dealt with that for a long time. And I came to a conclusion with it that helped me a lot, which was that there's really nothing in this world that is worthy of me killing myself over. When I really think about it, if I look back at all the different times I've dealt with suicidal ideation, it wasn't so much me wanting to die. It was just wanting a way to escape this reality. And that's a big difference from death. You know, and if the therapist isn't aware of that, makes a big difference too. Anyways, that's a little bit of personal experience.
Man, that is so true. I think what you said about suicidal ideation, it's wanting to escape the reality in that moment. And go ahead.
It becomes for me, it became a game. It was a go-to. Oh, they didn't put peppers on the pizza slice, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better to do. I just gotta end it all. And it became a scapegoat. And then I realized that one day I was like, this is ridiculous, you know, my shoelace was untied and I wanna kill myself. Something's really wrong here. Anyways,
Yeah, and I think having those open and honest conversations with your treatment team is so important, especially if you are dealing with suicidal ideation. It is a process, like it is. I don't know, it's a spectrum. A lot of times, as I've lived with it since I was 8. And it is a spectrum. A lot of times, like Marcus said, it is just wanting to escape that reality in that moment. And so, like, you know, therapists, they have told me this repeatedly throughout the years, and that is like, it's a really permanent solution to a very temporal problem. And that's true. Like it you know, working through it over the past years, it's like, yeah, it is. It's like, it was a go-to where it's like, I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not happy, I'm miserable. You know, that thought would pop up. And then, yeah, the self-talk, the building, the skills of being like, this is, yeah, it's a very permanent solution to a temporal problem. The dishes aren't done, that's fine. They're gonna get done. It's okay, like, it's fine. Or you messed up dinner, that's okay. You don't, there's other stuff to cook, or who cares? The meat's gonna be a little bit burnt, it's still edible. But that's, you know, that's years of therapy, of working through that with somebody and really doing that self-work of being like, stop the thought. Okay, CBT, let's replace it. Let's find something else. Let's move on, you know, because that is not the solution that I want truly inside. So, but yes, I recommend just, yeah, those open and honest communication with your treatment team and talking to them. And that's why I think it's so important to find a good fit, because like I've been with my psychiatrist for 10 years now. And like when I do have an off time and I tell them, and you know, hey, yeah, I was, you know, I had some suicidal ideation. She's not quick to jump on that and be like, we need a 5150 you. She will explore it because we've built that relationship and I have been open and honest throughout. She's able to be like, all right, let's explore that. Like on your scale, what does that look like? Should we be concerned? Should we look at other options? Or is this just something that you're kind of feeling is right now? Maybe it's a medication adjustment. Maybe it's we write it out and I check in back with you a little bit sooner instead of 4 weeks. I'm going to check back in with you in 2. There's a lot of different options there, but having those those conversations with your treatment team are so important, and being able to be open and honest, I think just leads to better treatment all around.
and I still get that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Didn't go away, so I had a realization.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a common thing that we say here is that, you know, recovery is not a destination. You know, I'm never gonna be recovered fully, like magically fixed, at least not right now. I don't know, scientific advancements, but I'm never gonna be fully recovered from my mental illness. Like, it's a thing that I'm gonna live with for the rest of my life. It's a journey, and I'm just trying to make another couple of steps every day forward. But then understanding that sometimes, yeah, it's a switchback and I have to kind of go back a little bit and then just to move forward again. I think that's just an empowering thought that I often tell myself. It's not a destination. I'm not gonna get there one day, but this is just a journey that I have to keep moving forward. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I have I have some thoughts. So I'm certified peer. I'll put my information in the chat. Um, I sometimes come to these meetings to kind of relate and talk about my own recovery, but in a way that's intentional and to be relatable as a peer. And then I also um, kind of review it as a systemic tool, both for my county system and the programs um, that I'm involved in. Um, I thought that I thought, the things that I disclose, I'm comfortable with disclosing, but I don't really get into depth. But you know, um, the other thing is that I think your slide deck was really good. I don't know if if you guys produced that slide deck. I don't know where you got it. Um, but that I was wondering, have you used that slide deck, or have you done this presentation for quite a while? Because you seem to be very comfortable doing it, and then also you seem to be very comfortable kind of like illustrating what was on your slide deck. Um, and a lot of things I started to realize in my 27 years in my county, I started to realize from presentations that it's good to have allow people to have like open it up to facilitation to have feedback.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was kind of yeah, I myself wanted to give more feedback, but didn't know where to give it. But anyways, I thought the slide deck was excellent in the way that you illustrated it. So yeah, did you have this slide deck for a long time, and did you work off it, continue working off it, or just something that you just recently developed?
So this is something that we developed, I think, actually I developed it yesterday. So I finished it up
Oh,
yesterday. But that is just based off of like, yeah, like we talked about. I've been working in this specific position for 10 years and my company, TMHA, has been really great with training about I can't say the word, facilitating, there we go, facilitating things.
mhm.
So I benefit from that training. But yeah, this is just something that we created specifically for this meeting on the 27th, and I just finished it up yesterday. Uh,
Nice.
so I was a little bit, sorry, a little bit lax. Last week was a hard week, but and we can definitely send you this slide deck if you would like it.
Yeah, that would be
Sir.
cool. I also appreciated your references because I'm not tech savvy. So I never heard of those apps, Variable, like MoodFit, or maybe I have, I just haven't paid attention to them.
Yeah, I know. There's just so much, and I think it's really exciting too, like with the blending of technology and mental health, it's just making it easier for us as peers to kind of just work through our stuff. But yeah, I know. I was like, whoa, there's a lot more apps because like the last time I looked at it, there's only a few, but now there's so many options, and I think it's just great. It's just exciting to see the expansion into mental health and then for them to be semi-free, I think is fantastic because we work with a lot of low income individuals. And hey, you know what? It doesn't even matter nowadays with the price of eggs and the price of gas. Like it's, everybody's counting dollars, and so to have those free choices or those low cost options, I think is so important because then, yeah, you can prioritize yourself. You're not making a choice between a tank of gas and supporting your mental health.
Yeah. So yeah, I put my email in there. I'm up in like finding new organizations to kind of like collaborate with or get information from. So yeah, like I said, that would be cool. It's to send a slide deck to my email. And it was a lot of good information. And it was like it didn't feel like it had like one central theme, but it was like in general your mental health. Like it wasn't like, oh, this is a shared decision making thing with your psychiatrist. Because if there
Mhm.
was like reflection of what words meant to you, like what sadness. So it wasn't, I mean, it was kind of like holistic. It was um, so it was pretty good. I think um, that it was both like wide ranging, and then once you got into those specific slides, you were able to talk about them like specifically, and really, kind of like make them stand out or make the information stand out. So cool.
Thank you so much. I do have to just, give some shine to Renee. Renee is a great support person, so she deserves some shine too. And then Marcus, thank you so much again for just sharing your story. Really, it takes a lot to be transparent, and I think it is a very much like one of the best things about being a peer is hearing other people's stories and finding those relatable moments and being able to have speak that same language. So thank you so much for sharing.
As long as I didn't screw it up.
You didn't screw it up. You did good.
It was fantastic. Thank you, Marcus, and thank you, Jay Swan, for all that you've shared. Jonathan, I do have your email saved for
Oh,
later,
cool.
and we can send you those slides later.
Awesome. All right, so I'll have to go. I'm leaving for work at 4:30, so I have to close up things. And thank you for inviting me to this, and look
Yeah.
forward to seeing more of your information.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we do have a recording available, so we can also send that out to you as well if you are interested. But thank you everybody for coming. Is there any other questions? Anything else anybody wants to bring up before we head out to wrap up our Tuesday?
Not really. It's just that when you said it was the last past difficult week or so for you, it's like you too, because the last 2 weeks for me have just been migraines, constant migraines, just crazy.
And we're not the only ones, Renee, because I feel like everybody I talk to is like, this has just been a month. Like, this is a month.
Yeah, it's like just for me, hormonal stuff the past 2 weeks, as well as weather, and I just my appointment that I couldn't be in there in person is I wanted to see the chiropractor because and so it's like, yeah, I had a lot of stress going on. So yeah, that helped a lot, so I'm feeling better.
Awesome. All right.
Mhm.
I'm glad you're feeling better. Hopefully I'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, that's the plan. We'll see what my body says, but it's I'm hoping like all that stress that's been going on since I've moved now will start really dissipating. So uh yeah. Mm.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gabby, for joining us. I appreciate that as well. And I hope that you all have a good rest of your Tuesday. And we will see you June 10th for,
And God bless.
oh yes, Central Coast Autism. I'm excited. All
Yes.
right. Take care, everyone.
Yes. All right, thank you. Bye.
I feel like I'm on live TV. I can't hold myself.